Hello, I'm David.
Hi, I'm Julie.
So this is a review of Roll in One. Hopefully you've had a chance to check out our How to Play and Playthrough. And so this is for 1 to 5 players, ages 9 and up, about 5 to 35 minutes. And there are rules for solo play. And basically you're trying to get the lowest score like in real golf. Mm-hmm. The difference is though, because you have cartoon characters here, which is appropriate, it doesn't necessarily follow the rules of golf.
It's like Looney Tune golf.
Yes. So let's take a look here. We just finished here on this hole. Julie got her ball from the tee all the way here before I did. And so unlike real golf, you don't count strokes. Whoever gets there first gets 0. That's what you want, right? And because I didn't get there, I get 1 point. And any hazards I might have. So you will have different golfers. I ignore at least 1 penalty per hole. I actually got a hazard on this, so that means that I would have had 2 hazards. So I didn't play this hole very well. And so if you were playing with 3 players, say David Jr. was back here, I would have 1 stroke, he would have 2 strokes. And if there was a 4th player, maybe he's over here, 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. So the further, and if there was a tie, you count to the hole. So the cool thing about this game is you are setting up the course every time you play. So whoever goes first, and you roll a 4-sided die, the putter die to see who goes first, will set up the course, and then the next player will set it up after that round. And if you're playing with 2 players game, two players, each person will set 2 holes. So you'll play 4 holes. In a 3-player game, you'll play 3 holes. In a 4-player game, you'll play 4 holes. 5-player game, 5 holes. So you have different golfers. We play, you get to select it, but the rules say you deal 1. And you get 3 caddy cards to start. And these are things that you can use during the game on your turn. And there is the optional rule that you can use them on other players' turns. But we play a nicer version where we don't play that option. And so you will get 1 new caddy card every turn. So in a 2-player game, you'll basically have 7 possible cards to use because you'll get 1 every hole. And you start out with 3. And they do things like you can re-roll, you can add, subtract to your number, things like that. It basically helps you, you can even remove a club. So let's take a look at how you're using the die. Why is it called Roll in One? Well, the putter is a 4-sided die. And so when you roll, say I roll 1, you keep on rolling until you get a number that is equal to or greater. So if I roll a 1 the first turn, I will be able to move 1 space. If I roll a 1 again, I stop. Let's say I rolled a 1 and a 2, I keep on going. And then if I rolled a 2 again, so let's simulate that.
Isn't that 3-sided dice?
No, that's a 4-sided die.
Really?
Yes.
It looks like 3 sides.
It's a pyramid. It just looks that way to you from your angle. All right, so let's say I was here. And this is where you can get in trouble, right? I roll 1, I'm on the tee, but then I roll again. If I rolled a 4 or a 2, 3, or 4, I overshot. But if I rolled a 1 again, I stopped there and I would win that hole. So it's pretty interesting the clubs that you pick. Now there's other effects that can happen. So here you can curve the ball. So this is where it's kind of like Looney Tunes. It can go. This is from BGG because the publisher or the designer put this up there. You could curve it multiple times. And every time you roll, you can potentially curve it. Now, there is a card where you can curve it mid-flight, and that's why the designer put this up here. So you could potentially, on the wedge, if you roll a curve, you curve it left or right. And if you roll it again, you curve it again. Or you go forward, and then you curve it after you go forward. So you can get this loop stuff here. It's pretty interesting how that can happen. An 9-iron, again, these numbers mean you have to roll greater than the number in order for your ball to continue going. But if you roll this, it's kind of like chipping it. So if I roll, and this is the 8-sided die, say I'm back here, okay, and I roll a 1, I'm over the water. Now if I rolled another 1, I'd plop in the water and get a hazard, okay? But let's say I rolled a 1 and then I rolled a 4. So my shot's going to end 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually would get to there and win. But let's say I rolled a 2, I go 1, 2, and I would stop. Now the thing about chipping is, if you chip on the fairway, it plops there and it doesn't move forward. Fairways will, if you roll numbers and you stop. So let's say I roll, I'm facing this way. I don't know why I would, but let's say I roll a 2, I go here, and then I roll another 2 or a 1. I stop because I rolled less. When you land on the fairway, you continue going forward. So this is possible. It happened during the playthrough where you can land on the fairway and then you roll into the water. If you roll off the board, that's a hazard, but then you just put your ball back where it was. So other things that can happen is you see here, 6-iron, you got a lot of numbers. You can curve. Now, what are the diamonds? That means that you're getting really a lot of height, but trees will block it. So you can go like, for instance, let's say I'm over here, and I'm doing the wood. Okay, I'm in the air, whee! And then I get another one, uh-oh, I plop into the water. But let's say I did roll a diamond, and then I roll a number. Okay, I'm over the woods, and I roll a diamond again. I'm going, I roll another diamond, uh-oh, and I roll another diamond, and then I roll a 4 because I had a 2 before. Now I shot past. So that can happen.
And you'd have to roll again.
Yeah. And I roll again. I can get into the water or go off the board. So the point is that diamonds are blocked by trees. So again, you got different. It's got really cool selections here, and it is a lot of strategy what you select. Sand traps. You ignore the first roll. So let's say I roll a 3 on this die. Or say I roll a 3 on the wedge. I roll again. Oh, I stay there. Because even though I ignored the result of the first die, I had to get over a 3. So I basically didn't get out of the sand trap. But if I would have rolled this, I would have gotten out. I would have gone 1 space. Again, trees block with diamonds. You land in the fairway, you go 1 space forward. And some people can get confused. They say, where do you put the ball after you get it in the water? Well, there's a little bit of art there to show that it's in that space. Now, one thing that the author, the publisher, had to clarify, because I had to look it up, because I was wondering, how do you go 1 space? Because look right here, in the rule book, it shows you on the back on these examples, it makes you think that when you roll, see here's an 8, right? And you roll 1, you land there. No, you actually land in this space, okay? So that's where they set it up here. This would have made more sense. So I had to look it up, and other people had the same question. I rolled a 4, I go into this space. I rolled an 8, I go in this space. I rolled a 10, I go in this space. Uh-oh, 7, I stop. So I rolled 3, I go 1, 2, 3 spaces. So this clarified it more for me that it's actually possible to go 1 space. Because what would happen, and this is what with the putter, see? I roll a 2, I go 1 space. I roll another 2, I stop. So just keep in mind that this is what, in retrospect, the publisher wished they would have put into the rule book. They thought this was more clear. So, whoever has the least strokes wins. But because it's, oops, I was blocking your hand there.
It's okay.
But because this is kind of a little bit of Looney Tunes, sometimes physics don't apply.
It doesn't apply.
And then, especially when you're using some of your abilities, like for instance, her ability was with Hector. It can tag along. If my ball flies overhead, she can choose to tag along.
Yeah, I could go along with
But
them.
with the curvy stuff,
I think that's so fun.
It's definitely, and then you're not counting every stroke, so just keep that in mind. All right, so that's a quick little bit of how to play there. So you have some context now about our review. So,
and you know how we do our reviews. I go first, then David goes, then we talk about how we rated it on the BGG scale. And
Okay,
we
so
just
here we
say
go.
what we liked, didn't like, or were neutral.
right.
And I think this is a really cute, fun golf game. It really is fun. There's lots of variability with the courses because you get to everyone gets to make it how they want. And it's not the same thing every time. So you don't get to get real familiar with how you're going to do it. It changes every time, which is really awesome. I really like that
Yeah, there's
part
some
of it.
strategy too, because if you really want to win a course and you're going first, you may want to have it be a straight shot.
Right.
It just depends on your strategy.
Exactly. Let's see, the art is really fun. The little characters are so darn cute. Oh my gosh, they are really just so fun. And the golf balls are really cute. I love
nice.
them. And come on, guys, you get dice, and they're your clubs. What kind of game? It's a good game if you have clubs that are dice.
And they're etched dice. They're nice quality,
They're
too.
really, really nice. And I have to admit that I don't really know all the different names of all the different sides of everything. So I just went with, like, I want the square dice, or I want the diamond dice. And David, bless his little heart, he told me, you know, you need an 8-sided, or you need a 20-sided.
Right, so this is what you have here, and they are shaded, different colors. So that's 6-sided, of course.
So that's why I would tell him I want a square, I want a diamond. And then after that, he'd have to tell me which one I wanted, because I didn't know. But I love dice, as you guys may or may not know. And so for me to be able to roll dice and use them as my clubs was amazing. I absolutely loved it.
So anyway, in retrospect, I don't know why I brushed over this Kickstarter, because you like dice games.
I do. I love dice games.
Okay, so it's quick and fun mechanics with interesting choices. Just when you watch the playthrough, you see us doing lots of discussion about what die to use.
Yeah.
And that's the fun strategy part of the game, is based on where you're at on the board. Are you going to use the, are you going to try to chip it? You're going to try to curve it on purpose. So, I mean, that's really cool. Building courses is an excellent idea. I mean,
it's so fun.
I mean, they could have went the route where it's a set board every time, and then maybe you do overlays on it. I mean, and then it's programmed. No, that was smart, because it adds, the variability in it, and you feel like you're doing something more.
Exactly.
So that's cool. Good choice there.
Yep.
From a design perspective. So it's a neutral for me. It's not a pure golf simulation. So if you're looking for this to be, there are golf simulation games out there.
This is not a real
This
golf
is not.
game.
So if that's going to bother you, you're not going to like it. Dice identification is neutral. So what I mean by that is that some people who are not used to role-playing games, see, Julie has played role-playing games, they can have a hard time knowing the difference between the 20-sided there, the 12-sided, and the 10 and 8.
And I do have problems. And I have played with these dice before. I just don't remember what they are.
So, I mean, you can see they're shaded right now. My recommendation is, if they republish this, do different colors.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all blue.
That would make it so much easier.
Make this green, make this red, or whatever. And that way, there'll be even less confusion.
Yep.
So I think people who are not used to playing with different dice like this can struggle a little bit about picking the right one.
Well, and even though I have played, I still struggled.
Right.
I still didn't know.
So simple but misleading rules. So that's my point about this. Right away when we played it, when I started using it part of the first time, I was like, well, how do we go one space?
Right.
It seems like you can't go one space. This is what it needed to be in the rule book.
Yeah.
And this was only done for people who thought you couldn't change directions multiple times because there's a card that confused them. Now, this should have been in the rules anyways, just in case. But this right here, I can see some people struggling who don't know about BGG, who won't go to it and find that out. So if they do, when they redo the rule book,
I'm sure they'll add that.
they need to change it to that.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll add that.
All right, so let's take a look at how we
how'd we rate it?
How we rated it. So let's take a look.
All right.
All right.
7.
So we said both usually willing to play.
Yeah.
Now, maybe with more plays, we'll get an 8, 9, or 10. I don't know. Maybe it might even be a 7.5 right now.
It could be a 7.5 right now for me.
As we play it more, we're liking it more and more. We haven't played it a ton of times. So I see this game going up the more we play.
I think so.
So I think right now it's probably a 7.5.
I think so. I think it would be a 7.5 for both of us. Yeah, I really liked it. I think it's fun. And I have to admit, I couldn't help but think about my brother and my uncles who play golf all the time. And like, ooh, what would they think? But they're like really big golfers, so they might be like, it's fun, it's silly, but they'd rather be on the course themselves
they
and
might
playing.
want to
And
be more realistic.
they might.
Whereas
they might.
the last time I played golf was when I was 12, and I got a hole-in-one on a par 3.
Wow.
And I hit it into the desert. I didn't even know it went in.
Oh my god.
And I was having such a terrible game that day, and that's when I quit. No, seriously, I haven't played it since.
We've miniature golf. We like to putt golf.
Yes.
And I like driving the golf cart with my brother will let me when he and my uncle's golf. I like to be the caddy. I don't carry the clubs. I just drive the cart. But
anyway.
no, this is a fun game. It really is.
So, other than some things that they can improve on with the second edition, because there's Like if somebody gets this that are not used to going to BGG to look up stuff,
Yeah.
they could have a terrible experience.
They could,
or
and
a,
I would
or
hate
a,
that.
or a confusing experience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this is great.
It's a really fun game.
So
I suggest it.
It probably will go up.
Yep.
All right. So thank you for watching.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next time.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.